Welcome to the College of Central Florida Vintage Farm Campus. At this location, we focus on two programs, Agribusiness Management as well as Equine Studies. Today we're going to focus on Agribusiness Management, focusing on our greenhouse operations, our crop production, as well as our cattle management program. So let's go ahead and go to the greenhouse. Welcome to the CF greenhouse, which is what we're in right now. Greenhouse is used for many purposes. Here at CF, we're using our greenhouse for seed production. We're using it for propagation or cloning of plants. We're also growing various hydroponic crops in here as well. In the greenhouse, we can control things like light, we can control humidity, heat, and so we can actually manage what the plants need inside the greenhouse. So we're going to look at a couple of projects that my students are working on in the greenhouse. This is our hydroponic system that our students are working with. So today we're actually looking at our tomato crop. So these tomatoes are actually grown hydroponically, meaning that they are grown in a soilless medium. So these tomatoes are actually grown in the coconut husks from a coconut, which is not classified as a soil. It doesn't hold water well and it doesn't hold nutrients. So we give everything this plant needs through the irrigation system. All of the water and nutrients are pumped through this hose and are directed to the roots of the plant. Now a little thing, something special about tomato plants, we're actually growing these tomatoes up this string. Tomatoes, if we can keep their top growing point, which is also known as the apical meristem, or the very top stem of the plant, if we keep it growing indefinitely, we can produce tomatoes indefinitely and the plant will never die. So what we're doing in this experiment, or this project, we're growing this tomato plant up the string all the way up to the ceiling of the greenhouse, where then we can manipulate the plants to continuously grow all of these plants in a continuous fashion and produce tomatoes indefinitely in this greenhouse. So in this project my students are working on, we're actually grafting peach trees. So basically what we're doing here is we're taking a peach tree that the fruit doesn't taste really well, but it has a really strong root system, and these peaches are better suited for our soil types in Florida. However, the peaches that we like to eat, we have to do what is known as grafting. So this might look just like a stick, but really what this is a good peach tree with good fruit on it, and we need to extract the buds off of this stick. So I use a special knife, known as a grafting knife, and we pull the bud off of this stick, where it looks like this, and we then make an incision in the bark on the lower part of this tree. We make a little pocket, and then we slide the bud inside, and then we tie the bud with tie tape. And hopefully, if this bud takes, a new tree will grow from this tiny bud and end up looking something like this. So this little bud that we extracted turns into this tree here, and this is a young peach tree that we will then plant outside in our peach orchard. So we're now going to talk about our crop production here at CF Vintage Farm Campus. So we grow two main types of vegetable crops. We grow spring crops that we would plant in March and April, and we also grow winter crops that we plant around October. Right now we're in our winter season, and we're actually finishing up some of the harvest of our winter crops, where we're growing things like broccoli, cauliflower, turnips, beets, collard greens, as well as bok choy. So if you notice, we actually have black plastic on the ground over this area. This is to do two things. One, it's going to hold moisture for the plants, which is beneficial for the plants, as well as it's going to keep our weed seed populations down, so we don't have to hand weed as much, and it keeps the labor down while still growing a healthy crop. So I'm going to show you one particular crop that we're in the middle of harvesting. that you might not know about, and it's our simple cauliflower plant here. So on many vegetable crops, we eat different parts of them. So you might consume the leaves of things like collard greens or mustard greens. You might also consume the root of vegetable plants, such as potatoes or carrots. But in cauliflower, as well as broccoli, we're actually consuming the center part of this plant, which is the flowers. So this structure here is actually known as a floret, which is a cluster or group of many different tiny flowers on this plant. So when we harvest this, we come in and we cut this floret or group of flowers out, and you might enjoy it in salads and on your dinner plate. So always eat your cauliflower and broccoli. Another thing that I want to show you, getting in preparation for our spring crops, we actually put out a cover crop of ryegrass in this area. So we put out a cover crop because it does many things. One, it keeps the weed population down. It also holds moisture, adds organic matter to the soil, and helps encourage soil microbes to live in the soil, which is great for our crops. In a few weeks, we're going to till this area, and we're going to plant the very first spring crop that we plant. And in Florida, that very first crop is potatoes. And as a general rule of thumb, we plant potatoes on February 14th, which is Valentine's Day. That's always the day in Florida that we plant potatoes. So we'll get those in the ground and we'll harvest them in early May. So now we're going to look at our cattle management program that we have out here at Vintage Farm. Behind me, you can see part of our cattle herd. This is a breed of cattle known as Hereford, which is one of the better performing cattle in Florida, where we have hot and humid summers. This part of our program actually is a little bit unique. We're actually utilizing a program known as rotational grazing. So we're using 4 pastures to simulate the 4 seasons of the year, and we grow different grasses in each pasture that grow better in each of those 4 seasons. So right now we're in the winter months, so we're on winter grasses, where we also supplement their feed with hay as well as grain to supplement their diet with other nutrients. A fun fact about cattle in Florida in particular is that the Spanish brought cattle to Florida in the early 1500s. So cattle have been in Florida longer than any other state in the United States. We are also, and because of that fact, we are also known as the home of the American cowboy and the original American cowboys. So this is also part of our cattle management program here at Vintage Farm. We have to check on the health of the cattle periodically. Cows get checkups too, just like you do, except in this case, the doctors come to us, and they're known as vets or veterinarians. So the first thing we do is we can sort cattle in a pen like you see here, which is what we're in right now. We try to keep the cattle safe and calm, and if you notice, it's a little bit shady here, so we keep the cows cool as well because of our hot Florida summers. Then what we do is we move the cattle through the chute and into the barn that we're actually use as a clinic to check on the health of the cattle. So we'll move this way to look at some of the equipment that we use for this. So we bring the cattle in one at a time, and we run them through this machine, which is known as a squeeze chute that holds the cattle in place without harming them, obviously. Where we can do things like check their weight, we can give them medicine, and do an overall checkup on our individual cattle, but also our overall herd health. Well, I hope you enjoyed your tour of the agribusiness program here at Vintage Farm. If you have an interest in animal sciences or horticultural and plant sciences or any other industry in agriculture, we have a great 4-H program here in Marion County, and you can find more information about that at our local extension office in Ocala. As well as when you get to middle and high schools, those schools are going to have agricultural and agri-science courses that I encourage you to take, as well as really strong FFA programs to get involved in, and I hope you pursue those opportunities if you have that interest. Thank you.